This meeting is being recorded.
Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us this evening for our exciting panel on the political appointee process, featuring White House officials and 6 distinguished Muslim American public servants and political appointees speaking in their personal capacities, moderated by Adil Ahmed. To thank our event co-sponsors and partner organizations, Islamic Scholarship Fund, Muslim Urban Professionals, MUPIs, Muslim Public Affairs Committee, MPAC, Muslim Women's Professional Network, the National Association of Muslim Lawyers, and our friends at the ElGohary Foundation, which has been doing great work to formalize and increase the pipeline for Muslims in the political appointee pipeline. My name is Ahmed Maati, board chair of Muslim Americans in Public Service, a national nonprofit member organization that aims to build and formalize community, promote institutional representation, and facilitate the professional development of Muslim American public servants. If you're not already a member, I urge you to join today for free at mapsnational.org to do your part to share your talents and learn from others in our amazing, growing community. Our program this evening will begin with formal remarks by Claudia Chavez of the White House Presidential Personnel Office, followed by some questions and answers from event organizers and the broader community. We will then kick off an informal and off-the-record conversation and Q&A with our amazing panelists. Feel free to ask your questions or engage directly during that second portion. Please mute yourselves until prompted by our host, and feel free to turn on your videos. Our event host and moderator this evening, Adil Ahmed, serves as special counsel in the U.S. Army's Office of General Counsel. Prior to this administration, he served as Deputy Director of Voter Protection on the Biden-Harris campaign. Since graduating from law school, Adil worked as a corporate M&A lawyer for 2 international law firms and served as Director of Policy and Worker Organizing for an immigrant and worker rights center, where he developed impact litigation, leadership development programs, and helped lead coalition efforts to pass New Jersey's first guaranteed severance bill for low-wage workers and a law that granted undocumented persons the right to apply for a driver's license. He's also a new father to a squishy baby boy named Kareem, and we're happy to have him with us today. Take it away, Adil.
Thank you, Ahmed. I also appreciate you including the squishy baby adjective. Assalamu alaikum all. Before I get started, I really want to thank all the co-sponsors that Ahmed listed. On behalf of all the appointees, we really appreciate your advocacy on behalf of our communities all across the country. And we really wanted to do this today to provide some insight into this whole process, because we know it's something that a lot of you want to pursue in your careers at some point, and we see it as a duty to give back. And so we're glad to have all the appointees on here and Ms. Claudia Chavez. And I have the distinct honor of introducing Ms. Claudia Chavez. As Ahmed mentioned, she's a special assistant to the president for candidate recruitment in the White House Office of Presidential Personnel. Claudia joined the Biden-Harris campaign early on, from the early days in 2019, and then she joined the administration as the White House liaison at the Department of Education. She helped throughout the transition, and she has 15 years of political and public service experience, including at the municipal, state, and federal campaigns and government. Ms. Chavez is an Illinois native and the graduate of the great Illinois State University. I'm going to hand it over to you for some introductory remarks, Ms. Chavez. We're really happy to have you here today, and feel free to kick it off however you see fit, and we'll ask some questions as well, to the extent you have time.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Adil, and to Ahmad for inviting me to join today. I'm always excited to talk to groups about the political appointee process. And as my good friend Laila can share, we're always learning and always adapting and always open to feedback on the process. Laila and I first met in the early days of the campaign in Des Moines, Iowa, and then have been really supportive of one another with other liaisons and PPO staff as we work to, create the most diverse administration in America, or ever, as people like to say. And we take it very seriously. I know often people will ask, what's the process? Why does it take so long? But really, it's, we are working to identify strong candidates who have a variety of experiences that will help to really, inform the policies that are being made. We like to say that people are policy. And what we mean by that is that, people's experiences, their backgrounds, their life story, story really helps to elevate the work that we do every day in the administration. And so when you bring a group of diverse people together, from all walks of life, it's really going to help to, impact, the way that policy is being created, it's being drafted. And I'm sure right now, as we see stories every day from, everyday Americans, the president himself has said, very recently that he understands what they're going through. He understands some of the tough decisions they're having to make, and having people who have those experiences or come from communities that are, diverse, it all helps to inform the work that we're doing every single day. And so as we work to continue to build the administration during year 2, 3, and 4, and hopefully more than that, we'll rely on our partners and folks like you to, make recommendations, to raise your hand for positions in the administration. And the one thing I will stress is, don't worry if you haven't heard from us. I know, there'll be some questions, and happy to get into more specifics, but, we are constantly, working to fill positions at all levels. And, there will always be opportunity to come into the administration. And we encourage people to keep an open mind about, the roles that they're seeking, because really more than half the battle is getting in. And then once you're in, there will be opportunity to move around. So I'll stop there, and I know we'll go through some questions, and happy to elaborate along the way.
Thank you, Claudia. And thank you for highlighting the phrase "people or policy." I think it's something a lot of us appointees say, or something that's been ingrained in our minds early onwards. And I think it's totally true. All of us here come from diverse backgrounds, represent all walks of life, and we definitely see how our backgrounds have been helpful in affecting decisions. So thank you for highlighting that. I thought I'd get into a little bit what you just touched upon is, if folks don't know what role they want, but they're really interested in serving, how can they get noticed? How should they sort of market themselves to the administration as someone who could, really hit the ground running?
Yeah, I mean, a couple things that I'll say on this is, we encourage people to not worry about, following up. Number one, I know people may say, well, I don't want to follow up if I've already, put my name in. But, certainly, follow up, rely on, colleagues or friends you have in the administration, working with, many of our coalition and stakeholders who have direct pipelines to folks in PPO and the administration. Use them as a resource as well to just, re-raise your interest, to re-raise your resume. It does help. We're dealing, as Laila can attest, with hundreds, thousands of people who are interested in serving. And so often, it is possible that, things get forgotten or missed. And so I always encourage people to not shy away from, re-pinging somebody or asking someone that they know to also, flag their resume again. In terms of, not knowing what you want to do, that's okay. Knowing that you want to serve, I think is a big piece. And then, being able to translate, your skills into different roles in the administration, or highlighting specific parts of your experience. So maybe you have, policy experience that is, in need at an agency. Perhaps you have strong management or budget experience, and that can fit across many agencies. Maybe you're coming from a communications background where you've spent time, talking to press or, putting together strategic plans. All of those skills translate across many agencies. And so you don't need to worry about, talking to somebody at only one agency. It's really about showcasing your skills broadly, and then figuring out, where those needs are at any given time.
Thank you. And just want to add to that, that's what all of us appointees are here for. So as Claudia said, lean on the folks the folks you've met. Reach out to us. There's about 6 of us on the call today, including myself. So there's definitely a touch point with each of us. So feel free to reach out, no doubt. On resumes, Claudia, how should people structure their resume when applying?
Very good question. And this is something I've learned over the last year and a half plus. We've been trained, at least I was, to, do a one-page resume. And it's really hard to put everything you've done on one page. And so I let people know that more is better in this case, to really highlight and showcase your experience, particularly, again, around like budget, management, if you've led teams, being able to sort of detail in more than what we've been taught, how you've executed projects in the work that you do. If you have, certain policy experience, I encourage people, more than one page is good, since many times what we're doing is passing someone's resume along. And that is also what agencies use as well, since it's the first thing that they're seeing. And so I encourage folks to just add more. And one tip I say is like, put everything on a resume that you've always wanted to, but never have before, because we've been trained to do one page.
That's awesome. And I hope folks noted that, because that's definitely advice you're probably not going to hear from folks. I hear all the time, one page resume maximum. And so I think what we're hearing here today is don't do that. Really highlight all your qualifications. So noted. Next question here is, are there specific types of roles that are in demand at the moment, Claudia, across the administration right now?
We're always looking for a little bit of everything. We work at the pace of an agency. And so, each month, that creates a pretty broad list of positions that are being filled, from junior positions that, may be special assistants, confidential assistants, staff assistants. All those titles are used slightly different. But, we're always in need of great young folks who are interested in coming into the administration, who are interested in serving. And so, that is like, the most junior position, to your most senior positions where, we are in need of speechwriters, people who have communications background, people who, may have certain technical skills. Sometimes we're looking for very specific things that vary across agencies. For example, one that has come up quite a bit is people who have tech and delivery experience. So people who have, IT experience sort of on the back end of how agencies present themselves to the public. And that's more technical. We're also always looking for people that have engagement experience, whether that is at the state and local level for IGA teams, people who are interfacing with external stakeholders from business to groups, and then also people who have experience working on the Hill. I think, every agency has a legislative team, and they're very, very important. So whether you're on the Hill now or have past Hill experience, it all counts. And we're always looking for great people who work on the Hill. And then one other big bucket are lawyers. A lot of our agencies, have lawyers who serve in a political capacity. There's always a need for them right now. Agencies are hiring or have been hiring people who have oversight experience. And so, that is always another big need that we have.
Thank you. And you highlighted this a little bit, but in terms of the different types of roles, Claudia, are there, in terms of skill sets, like for engagement, like public engagement experience and external stakeholder experience, can you explain a little bit more about like what that means?
Sure. So, one thing I like to tell people is, things may not always match up the way you think they are or what you think people might need. And so from an engagement perspective, have you worked for a state-based organization that may have, national reach? So one example I use is like the Governors Association, right? They have a pretty broad network and they work across the country, but they may also have state affiliates, or like the National Mayor's Conference. Or, when I worked at the Department of Education, there were national groups that worked within like the education field, or like an NEA or an AFT. And so all that experience is helpful. People who are coming from local government. So if you were doing, local engagement in your city or state, whether working for a legislator or a governor or mayor, all of that is great experience that is helpful to IGA teams. If you're coming from private sector, right? So, organizations that may work with external stakeholders in a variety of ways is also helpful. And all of that can translate into, a variety of roles. It'll vary agency to agency. For example, like if you're at Commerce, people who may have experience working with, business groups or people in like the telecom space, think, like Comcast, right? People coming from that space who may be able to work at an agency like Commerce because of those transferable skills. So really it's a little bit of everything. And then on the comm side, again, people who have relationships and have spent time working as a press secretary, a spokesperson for either an elected or principal, people who have a writing experience to write speeches or press releases, people who have put together big strategic plans for clients or again elected officials. And so all of that is count and all of that is important. And depending again on the agency, we'll work with you to figure out like what makes most sense based on your experience and skill set.
Thank you so much. That was really insightful. I know you have a cutoff, Claudia, so I'm going to end that part there. You are, of course, welcome to stay for as long as you're able. I'm going to start introducing the other appointees. Thank you again for being here today and being a partner, and look forward to working with you going forward.
Yeah, and thank you again for the invitation. I welcome, as I said at the top, resumes, names of folks. Don't be shy about reaching out. I will return your call or email. So just I'll reach out. Thank you.
Thank you. I am now going to introduce our panelists tonight. We have an exceptional list